Well, they say that the reason why God asked Abraham to sacrifice Isaac when he was 12 years of age is because if Isaac had been a teenager, it wouldn't have been a sacrifice. Today we look at the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 11, the great chapter on faith. The letter to the Hebrews is such a beautiful epistle, such a great letter, and so much of it is about faith. And here we have a definition of what faith is. Faith is the realization of what is hoped for and evidence of things not seen. The virtue of faith is that virtue by which we believe in God and everything that God has revealed. So faith is one of the three theological virtues. And we see in this passage 3 or 4 times it says, by faith, Abraham obeyed God. That it walks us through really the life of Abraham, that Abraham was called to go to a distant place, to leave his home and to travel. So Abraham obeyed by leaving his ancestral heritage and journeying to where God was going to send him. And of course, all of us are also on a journey. It says Abraham journeyed to the promised land. All of us are on a journey to the promised land of heaven. And we walk by faith. Faith is that star by which our path is guided, just like the wise men were guided by the star. So we're guided by our faith, that we believe in God and what God has revealed. And notice that Abraham obeyed God. It's not faith alone, it's faith and works. It's faith and obedience of following God. So Abraham sojourned to the promised land, and God told him that one day through Isaac, he would be the father of many nations. So much so that he said, look up at the stars, and your descendants will be like the stars in the sky. In other words, you won't be able to count them. Or the grains of sand on the seashore, you won't be able to count them. And says, by faith, Abraham was given the power to generate, even though he was past normal age. As you remember, Abraham was over 100 years of age, and he still had not had a son. It mentions that Sarah was also past childbearing age. She was sterile. And yet, again, Abraham believed God. And they conceived a child in their old age, Isaac. And it was through Isaac that the promise would come. And it says that Abraham believed because he knew that God was trustworthy. Faith is like a two-sided coin. On one side you have faith, the other side trust. How do we show our faith in God? By trusting him. So Abraham left his home, he journeyed, he was blessed with his beloved son, Isaac. And then we, of course, have this where God put Abraham to the test and asked Abraham to sacrifice his only son, his beloved son, whom he loved. So God put Abraham to the test. And again, it says, by faith, Abraham was willing to offer up his son Isaac, even though the promise was made that it would be through Isaac that he would be the father of many nations. And this is the reason. It says, Abraham believed that God was able to raise someone from the dead. So Abraham was willing to take the life of his son because he knew that God could resurrect him, that God could raise him up. So it is faith in the resurrection that Abraham is known for. It says he reasoned that God was able to raise even from the dead, and he received Isaac back as a symbol. A symbol of what? A symbol of Christ, a foreshadowing of Christ. So God himself gave his only beloved son, as we see in the cross, or see on the crucifix, that God gave his only beloved son to die for us as a substitute, just as the ram would be a substitute for Isaac, so Christ is a substitute for us. Jesus died on the cross for you and for me. So what a beautiful passage we have today from Hebrews, which is all about faith and obedience.